Namaskar, Dilip Singh Advocate. Welcome to my channel Legal Outlook by Dilip Singh. Very few judgments we come across which touches the lives of common man so intimately. On 15th October, Supreme Court passes an important judgment related to the right of daughter-in-law and father-in-law. On 4th March 1995, Ravi and Ahuja marries Sneha Ahuja. After marriage, they start living in the house of father of Ravi and Ahuja and in New Delhi, Friends Colony. That house belongs to the father of Ravi and Ahuja. Problem starts in the marriage in July 2014 and thereafter. Ravi starts living separately in the same house in the guest room and he started his kitchen separate. On 28th November 2014, Ravi and Ahuja files a divorce petition on the ground of cruelty and that petition is still pending. After 1 year, the Sneha Ahuja files an application under Domestic Violence Act against her husband Ravi Ahuja, her mother-in-law Dr. Premlata and her father-in-law Satish Ahuja. The Chief Metropolitan Magistrate passes an interim order on 26th of November 2016 restraining the respondents from alienating the property as well as dispossessing the complainant Sneha Ahuja without any proper order from any court or any competent court. Now Satish Ahuja, the father-in-law, files, who is a 76-year-old man, files a suit for mandatory and permanent injunction and also for recovery of damages and means profit against his daughter-in-law Sneha Ahuja. He prays for removal of Sneha Ahuja from the suit premises and so that he can live peacefully with his old wife. And he also pleads that it is a self-acquired property and the status of Sneha Ahuja is only a permissive gratuitous licensee in the nature and she is not having any claim over the right as the right of residence or against the plaintiff because husband is still alive. After written statement is filed by the Sneha Ahuja, she claimed that the said property is shared household under the definition of Domestic Violence Act and that is acquired by the plaintiff through a joint family business. So the house is not a self-acquired property. On 5th January 2018, Satish Ahuja files an application under Order 12 Rule 6 CPC for passing a decree on the ground of admission made by the Sneha Ahuja in her application under Section 12 of the Domestic Violence Act. The trial court decrees the suit taking note of the admission made by the defendant in her pleading filed in domestic violence case and where she has categorically admitted the plaintiff as the owner of the suit property. Court directs Sneha Ahuja to vacate the premises and hand over the vacant physical possession of the suit property to the plaintiff. Now the issue reaches to the High Court in appeal by Sneha Ahuja. The issue before High Court was whether the suit could be simply decreed by the trial court on the basis of the title without weighing the effect of statutory right of Sneha Ahuja as a daughter-in-law in the shared house. The High Court opined that trial court erroneously proceeded to pass the decree on the basis of admission under Order 12 Rule 6 and not pleading husband as a party and failing to appreciate the specific submissions made by Sneha Ahuja as the shared household and the property was purchased from the joint family business. High Court set aside the decree passed by the trial court and it remanded back to the trial court to decide the respective contentions and it's found that it was not an unambiguous admission so that the decree can be passed on under Order 12 Rule 6. Now High Court consciously restrained itself from determining the question whether the said house and suit premises is a shared household or not as defined in the Domestic Violence Act. Now the case travels to Supreme Court in appeal filed by Satish Ahuja, who is father-in-law. On 15th October 2020, Supreme Court passed a judgment which redefines the concept of shared household in Domestic Violence Act. It is also important judgment. The judgment is very important, not for only layman but also for lawyers. Appellant Satish Ahuja relied on the judgment of S.R. Batra versus Taruna Batra 2007 3 SCC 169, which is two judges bench judgment, and where it was held that the wife is entitled to claim a right under section 17(1) of the residence in a shared household, and the shared household will only mean to the house belonging to or taken on rent by the husband, or the house which belongs to a joint family in which husband is a member. So this was the view prevailed for last 13 years qua the concept of share household. Now the respondent, the respondent had the argument. Respondent daughter-in-law Sneha Ahuja had the argument before the Supreme Court that the Domestic Violence Act granted protection and security of residence to women. The definition of domestic relationship under Section 2, subsection F of the Act brings the appellant, means father-in-law, in the fold of the shared relationship, a domestic relationship. So the said house is shared household, and she has the claim over share household which belongs to father-in-law. While after considering the rival arguments of the both parties, Supreme Court framed as much as 8 questions and decided these issues from every angle which could touch the issue. First question which framed by the Supreme Court was whether definition of shared household under Section 2(s) of the Protection of Women and Domestic Violence Act 2005 has to be read to mean that shared household can only be the household which is household of joint family, or in which husband of the aggrieved wife has a share. So on deciding this question, Supreme Court categorically hold that the shared household cannot be limited to the household of the joint family which husband is a member or in which husband has a share. So what Supreme Court said that in this case, that definition of shared household of in Section 2(s) of the Act is an exhaustive definition in the event the shared household belongs to any relative of the husband with whom a domestic relationship this woman has lived. The condition mentioned in Section 2(s) are satisfied, and the said household will become a share household. Means the ambit of this ambit of the area of share household has been widened extensively, which was not in the in the vogue or in the prevalence before this judgment. The second question, which was of Supreme Court, framed that whether judgment of this court in S.R. Batra and others versus Taruna Batra 2007 3 SCC does not lay down a correct law. So this judgment was under consideration, and categorically held that this judgment does not lay down a correct law, because the object and purpose of the act was, of the Domestic Violence Act, was to grant a right to the aggrieved person, a woman, of residence in share household. The interpretation which is put by this court in S.R. Batra case is not correct interpretation, and the said judgment does not lay down the correct law, because the purpose of the the act will be defeated. The third question which was framed by the Supreme Court is that whether the High Court was has rightly come to the conclusion that the suit filed by the appellant could not have been decreed under Order 12 Rule 6 CPC. Because as I told you that the suit was decreed under Order 12 Rule 6 on the basis of admission, the Supreme Court said in this case that the being an enabling provision, it is neither mandatory nor preemptory but discretionary for the court to pass judgment on admission in exercise of power under Order 12 Rule 6 CPC. The admission particularly here is said that the admission should be categorical, a conscious and deliberate act of the party making it, and the party should have the intention to get bound by the admission made here. Supreme Court held that the suit is not decreed correctly, rightly by the district court or by the trial court. The fourth question framed by the Supreme Court was whether the trial court could have decreed the suit of the plaintiff without deciding such claim of defendant which was permissible to be decided as per section 26 of the Act 2005, that is Domestic Violence Act. In fact, in the present case, the trial court ought not to have given judgment under Order 12 Rule 6 of the admission of the defendant as contained in her application filed under Section 12 of the DV Act. So, her contention should have been considered in day to determine her right in the shared household of residence. The next question which was framed by the Supreme Court, that whether the father-in-law can be said to be respondent as per definition of section 2Q of the Act, Domestic Violence Act 2005. Because this is very important aspect. If the father-in-law comes within the definition of respondent, then the house will be shared household and she can claim relief against it. So, Supreme Court very categorically here elaborated the things and come to the conclusion that there are two essential conditions for a person to be treated to be respondent within the meaning of section 2Q of the Domestic Violence Act. First condition is that in a domestic relationship with the aggrieved person. Second is that against whom the aggrieved person has sought any relief and Act 2005. Since here right right is claimed of residence in the shared household, so the claim was there and against the father-in-law, and father-in-law can be treated as a respondent, but for grant of relief as prescribed under as Domestic Violence Act, it has to be pleaded and to be proved by the daughter-in-law. Only then the relief can be granted by the civil code. So her first, the father-in-law was finally conclusively treated as respondent as per the Domestic Violence Act, and so the complainant and the daughter-in-law has claim against his father-in-law, against her father-in-law. Next question, which was posed by the Supreme Court, framed by the Supreme Court in this case, what is the meaning and extent of expression save in accordance with procedure established by law as occurring in Domestic Violence Act 2005 in section 70. Here it is pertinent and is relevant to say that subsection 2 of section 17 contemplates that the aggrieved person can be evicted and excluded from the shared household in accordance with the procedure established by law. But this embargo is against respondent as defined under Act 2005. Next question was that whether the husband of the aggrieved wife is necessary party in the suit of father-in-law against the daughter-in-law. Here it is, I would like to say that the High Court, while deciding the case in the present case, mentioned in that husband should be made a party in the suit filed by father-in-law, so against her daughter-in-law, his daughter-in-law. Whereas the basic concept is that it is the relief claim against, because the father has not claimed any relief against his son, so he is not a necessary party. But Supreme Court held that this question should be left to the trial court. High Court ought not to have given such a general direction to implead the husband as a party. And so trial court will take the entire fact and circumstances into consideration and then only decide. However, Supreme Court said that he is not a necessary party, but in view of the pleadings and the written statement, the husband was a proper party. Whether he should be impleaded as a party or not, it should be left to the trial court to decide at the proper time and on the proper application. The last question, which is the question number 8, framed by Supreme Court, was that what is the effect of order passed under section 19 of the Act, whether interim or final order passed in the proceeding initiated under Domestic Violence Act will have any effect on the civil code of the competent jurisdiction. This aspect was dealt in very lengthy way, and the basic concept was taken into the consideration. the pendency of proceeding under a Domestic Violence Act or any order passed by as an interim relief or the final order passed under the Domestic Violence Act under Section 19 regarding the right of residence will not play an embargo for initiating any proceeding against under the any civil proceeding against the person as per the law, which relates to the subject matter of the order or whether it is interim relief or the final relief passed under the Domestic Violence Act. It means that what the court wanted to say that these two are the separate proceedings, and whatever proceeding that has under Domestic Violence Act is taken is the different thing. Civil proceeding will always be there, and particularly this has been saved under the law that if without the due process or without the process established by law is mentioned specifically, the judgment or order of criminal court granting an interim relief or final relief under Section 19 of the Domestic Violence Act are relevant within the meaning of Section 43 of the Evidence Act and can be referred into and looked into by the civil court. But that will not have any binding effect. A civil court is to determine the issues in civil proceedings on the basis of evidence and which has been laid by the parties before the civil court. In fact of the present case, filed in the civil court for mandatory and permanent injunctions are fully maintainable, as it is held by the Supreme Court that whatever father-in-law has filed in the civil court, that is maintainable. And as well as the relevant defendant has a defendant's right is whatever is secured under Section 19 of the Domestic Violence Act will be decided, her claim will be decided on the basis of the evidence which will be laid by the parties. So in this way completely the Supreme Court dealt each and every aspect touching the Domestic Violence Act provisions as well as a civil case proceeding undertaken by the father-in-law. This is a very delicate issue. At one hand, there is an aggrieved woman, and on the other hand, there is a senior citizen, and both right has to be taken care of. That's why the civil court power to deal with the suit of father-in-law was protected, as well as the right of that daughter-in-law in the Domestic Violence Act was protected there. Thank you very much for watching it. It's wonderful to have this judgment. This is a very well written judgment, and please, if you have time, you read it. You will be enjoying the reading this judgment. Thank you very much. If you have not subscribed to my channel, please subscribe to my channel. It's my request, and please share your views about the video, the contents of the video, and your views on the topic which I deal in the video, so that it can be two-way communication. I must know, I will come to know about your views on the issue. Thank you very much. Namaskar.